Okay, so this is the last grammar lesson. 4 of our classes are grammar, 4 are essay writing, and 4 are going to be analysis and research. So this is the last of our grammar, and we're calling this the known new contract because we're going to organize our information in our paragraph based on what information is already known and what information is new. Each sentence is going to have both of these parts. So for example, here we've got the subject. That's going to be our known element. When you introduce your sentence, the most neutral form for a sentence in a paragraph is going to be to put the known information in the subject. The new information will be in the predicate following the verb. And we can also call this topic discourse. The subject is going to introduce the topic. That topic should be something familiar to both of you. And the discourse is going to introduce the new information, something you want to say about that topic to either enlarge their idea of that subject or to diminish their idea of that subject and make it more specific. Essentially, it's something about that subject that you would like to say. So the subject introduces something which you have something to say about. So you're going to put that always in the nominal form using a noun or a noun phrase or some substitute for a noun phrase like a gerund, because that subject is going to be a nominal topic. You don't want to put too much information into that subject because your predicate is going to be the discourse about that subject. So you want to only include information into the subject that is already known or understood, or only making specifications. You're not wanting to include your new information into that subject. So keep it always as a noun or a noun phrase. The predicate is going to be the information which you wish to say about the subject. So that's where you're going to introduce new information, either as a complement or an object following the verb. So here's a good example. The dog is brown. The dog, being your subject, is going to be some information which is already known between you and your reader, that person with whom you've made a contract. And then is brown is going to be your new information. So this is the known and the new. So in this example, the purpose of the sentence is to indicate the color of the known dog. You're not using this sentence to introduce the fact that there is a dog. You're coming already with the idea that the dog exists, and both you and your reader know that this dog exists. The point is its color. So the point of your topic, or what you wish to say about your topic, you're going to put as close to the end of the sentence as possible, but always in the predicate. So here we've got the brown dog ate my lunch. Now the brown dog, brown the color, is already understood. It's in the subject, and that tells your reader that you expect your reader to already know that this dog is brown. You're not introducing new information to him in the subject. The new information, the information he is supposed to pay attention to, is in the predicate. What did this dog do? He ate my lunch. So the brown dog, as opposed to the white dog or the golden dog, he ate my lunch. So the brown dog helps identify him, but the point of this sentence is not to tell the reader what color the dog is. The point is to tell the reader what the dog did to your lunch. So in this example, the purpose is not to indicate the color or the dog. That information is contained in the subject. The purpose is to indicate what that specific dog did. And this is called rhetorical focus. That rhetorical focus is going to be at the end of your sentence. So keep the focus at the end. If you want them to finish the sentence with the idea that the dog ate your lunch, don't finish your sentence with the idea that the dog is brown, essentially. Keep the known information at the beginning of the sentence and the new information at the end of the sentence. So also another option we have is to introduce multiple thoughts about a single subject as follow a pattern that looks like A, B, A, C, A, D. So here's an example of that. A weasel is wild. A weasel being the subject, wild being the new information. So here's your A and here's your B, wild. Who knows what he thinks? He sleeps in his underground den. He is the weasel. So that's A again, the known. And the new information, sleeps in his underground den, that's going to be C. So we've got A, B, A, C. You're maintaining the same subject, but you're changing the predicate in each sentence so that you're able to introduce 3 separate ideas about him. His tail draped over his nose. Sometimes he, again, the same subject as A, lives in his den for 2 days without leaving. Now here's more information about him. So you're following this same subject, but you're giving more information about him. This is an ABAC contract because you're keeping the same subject, but you're giving a different predicate, new information about him. We can blend these contracts. So we've got 2 contracts, the ABBC, where we introduce a subject and then something to say about that subject. And then we grab that new information and we take that into our known information and say something new about that. Well, here we can blend it. So here I can say every day, a high stakes battle, here's going to be our subject A, affecting the security and well-being of millions of Americans, is played out far off our shores. So this played out far off our shores, this is the B. This is what you're saying about this high stakes battle. It's played out far off our shores. Now this A is going to be, again, this high stakes battle, the conflict. So high stakes battle, conflict, this is the same idea, but it's a different name for the same idea. Occurs across more than 6 million square miles of ocean, an area larger than the size of the contiguous United States. This is side information, background information, where smugglers transport cocaine and other illegal drugs from South America. So this information is going to be C. So we've got same subject here, but a different name for that same subject with 2 different bits of information. But at the end of this sentence, rather than grabbing the same subject again, I'm going to use C again. So here, smugglers transport cocaine and other illegal drugs from South America. That's C, cocaine and illegal drugs. Here is C again, their cargo, the cargo being illegal drugs, is ultimately intended for sale in our cities and towns, but not if the US Coast Guard stops it first. So there's our D. So we don't have to maintain full consistency with either ABBC or ABAC. We can shift, but between 2 sentences, there should be some sort of a link, ABBC or ABAC. And here it's between these 2 sentences, there's an ABAC contract. Between the last 2 sentences, there is essentially an ABBC, but here it's in the C form. So ACCD form. So essentially what we're doing here is we're using our subjects and predicates effectively. And how do we use them effectively? We use them by not surprising the reader by what information is in which part of it. So we want to concentrate our main idea in the predicate. If you're introducing new information, put it in the predicate. If you want to say something more about that new information, make a new sentence and use an A, B, B, C contract. But make sure that your reader starts with some information that is common between both of you. Start them out with known information. They can put their feet on the same plane as you and understand what you're trying to talk about before you give them new information about it. And then we want to connect our sentences cohesively, maintain some sort of a link between one sentence and the next. So we're going to connect sentences cohesively, maintaining a known new contract with the reader. And for our rhetorical force in a blended contract, we want to use your subjects by concentrating the focus. Oh, this is the same slide. All right. We're going to do a little practice here. We're going to analyze the cohesiveness of this paragraph. So here's an excerpt from Charles Ryrie. We know Charles Ryrie. We've read some of his book before, and here's from So Great Salvation again. So here, I'll read it and then talk a bit about his use of the known new contract. He says, of course, Jesus is Lord. He is Lord because of who he is. He is also Lord of creation, Lord of history, Lord of salvation, Lord of the church, Lord of disciples, and Lord of the future. But even if there were no creation, no history, no salvation, no church, no disciples, and no future, he was, is, and always will be Lord. So obviously, our topic that we want to discuss, where we want the rhetorical force to land in the first sentence is going to be Lord. You can see that this entire paragraph is about Christ's lordship. But Lord is what we're trying to understand. So we want to start with something that we both understand well, and that's the name Jesus. We both understand well Jesus, and we probably wouldn't have any disagreement or conflict as to who Jesus is, being the man, the God-man, Jesus. But the term Lord might be a bit more confusing, and that's what this paragraph wants to talk about. So Charles Ryrie is using Lord at the end of his first sentence to introduce this as his topic of discourse. And now he's going to continue with an AC contract, or an ABAC. He is Lord, he being Jesus is Lord because of who he is. He is also Lord of creation, Lord of history, Lord of salvation, Lord of the church, Lord of the disciples, and Lord of the future. And this ties in together with our claim, reason, evidence, and warrant. He's making a claim here. Of course, Jesus is Lord, and he's going to give you reasons for that. He is Lord because of who he is. So you can see how the ABBC contract is used to present your reasons and evidence in an organized manner, effectively using your subjects and your predicates. So that's his reason, because of who he is. But now we're going to need information about, well, who is he? What's the evidence? And for that, we're going to use an ABAC contract. He is Lord of creation. There's AB, Lord of history, AC, Lord of salvation, AD, Lord of the church, Lord of his disciples, Lord of the future. So this is using an ABAC contract to provide evidence. Now that we've established who Jesus is Lord, we're describing his lordship in more detail using an ABAC contract. But here we continue. But even if there were no creation, no history, no salvation, no church, no disciples, and no future. So notice he's taken not the A's, not the subject, Jesus or Lord here. What he has taken is his C, his D, his E, his F, and his G, and he's made each of those new topics. Even if there were no creation, no history, no salvation, no church, no disciples, and no future. He was, is, and always will be Lord. He's returned back to his A and his B at the end. And so here's a schematic of how that looks down to his D. So we've got an A, B, C, and then we're taking that C and we're adding on this D of all this information. Then we're using that D again to present A and B. So we want to be able to follow this chain of thought in Ryrie's argumentation. Here's a paragraph from Kate Turabian, and she's going to also present claim and reason with her support, but we're also going to see that it does follow an A-B, B-C contract. So we should do what we can to discourage teenagers from texting and driving. So there's her claim, we being the A, and discourage teenagers from texting and driving being the B. Because that behavior in the first sentence was from B, texting and driving. So she's got an A, B, B, C. That behavior increases the risk of having an accident. There's the C. Driving is difficult and texting is a distraction. And we know that when people are distracted while performing complex tasks, their performance suffers. So here, we, A, should do what we can to discourage teenagers from texting and driving, B, because that behavior, B, increases the risk of having an accident, C. Now she's reversing her argumentation. Driving, B1, is difficult, C1. And texting, B2, is a distraction, C2. And we know, this is in her warrant, she's returning back to the beginning of her argument to summarize. We know that when people are distracted while performing complex tasks, B, their performance suffers, those complex tasks being texting and driving, and the performance suffering being the accident. So we can see how she's given us an A, B, B, C for her argument up here. She's provided her evidence by returning to B and adding information about that B, then providing more information about the next B and saying something about that. And then in her warrant, she returns to her A, B, and she gives her summary of that A, B, B, C contract. So this is a very well-structured paragraph. All right, another excerpt from Charles Ryrie, but this comes not from So Great Salvation. This comes from his book, Dispensationalism. And he says, there is no interpreter of the Bible who does not recognize the need for certain basic distinctions in the scriptures. The theological liberal, no matter how much he speaks of the Judaistic background of Christianity, recognizes that Christianity is nevertheless different from Judaism. There may be few or many features of Judaism that, in his mind, carry over into Christianity, but still the message of Jesus was something new. Therefore, the material of the Old Testament is distinguished from that of the New. So he's giving a claim. There is no interpreter of the Bible who does not recognize the need for certain basic distinctions in the scriptures. This is a big claim, a broad claim, and he's going to need to support it. But what he's done here is he's introduced a topic. There is no interpreter of the Bible. So we're talking about Bible interpreters. You and I would both understand who those are. And he's going to make a claim about them. They all recognize the need for certain basic distinctions in the scripture. That's his claim. His claim is in the predicate. The theological liberal, here's the new. So we've got an A, B, and now we've got another new topic. The theological liberal, no matter how much he speaks of the Judaistic background of Christianity, recognizes that Christianity is nevertheless different from Judaism. There's his reason and his evidence together. There may be few or more features of Judaism that his mind that in his mind carry over into Christianity, but still the message of Jesus was something new. This is his response. He is internalizing possible rejections of his argument, and he's answering those rejections. Therefore, the material of the Old Testament is distinguished from that of the New. All right, our last example here actually comes from the Bible, right from the Bible. And we're going to look at John 1:1-5, because John uses this logic argument using a known new contract. So he's saying, in the beginning was the Word. Here, first he is inverted his subject and his complement. Remember, this is going to be a pattern 1. Was the Word, and then in the beginning is an adverb. So our pattern 1 is going to be subject, be verb, adverb. So we know that in the beginning is not the subject, the Word is the subject, but he wants the rhetorical focus to be on the Word. So he's got an A, B, A, C contract. The Word was with God, another adverb, with God, and the Word was God. Now he's got a pattern 3, A, B, A, C, A, D contract. We know 3 things about the Word. It was in the beginning, it was with God, and it was God. And he's presented that to us in a very logical format. Now we've got he was in the beginning with God. He's saying A and B happened at the same time, or B and C happened at the same time. So he is summarized but given a bit more information by putting in the beginning and with God at the end of the sentence. Now that is the focus. The focus is that the beginning and with God both equally tell us information about Christ. Then all things came into being through him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that came into being. So he's giving us some more information, but he's encapsulating it between his new information. But still, we've got the focus at the end. So he's saying all things, this is something that we can understand, came into being. Okay, how did they come into being? Through him. And apart from him, again, our A, nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life. Life is a new topic. In him is going to be the known topic. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light, now following G, shines in the darkness, H. And the darkness, H, did not comprehend it being the light. So you can see he is opening a new topic, giving us more information, taking that more information and giving us information about that. And then he's closing that information always by summarizing at the end, tying his loops back together. He's got a very tight argument here in that he's following an A, B, B, C contract almost entirely throughout here, and then closing it off with an A, B, A, C contract. And in so doing, he is stating his claim, his reasons, his evidence, his warrant, all in a single paragraph. So this is going to be the kinds of paragraphs we're seeking to write, where our claim and our reasons and evidence all focus on providing known information, saying something about that information, now taking that new idea as known information and saying more about it. So that's going to be our goal. It's a lofty goal, but it comes more through practice than through talking about it. So that's what we're going to focus on when we go back and start writing your expository essay. We're going to write an introductory paragraph together, and we're going to make sure that it's providing some sort of claim and reasons for your claim. And we're going to use our A-B contract to make sure that when the reader reads your paper, they're able to follow your logic. So next time when we meet, next Thursday, we're going to look at your essay that you've written and submitted to me already, your experience essay. We're going to make sure that everything in there is organized well. We'll talk a little bit about the grammar also. Your grammar was very good. I think I spotted maybe 3 or 4 things we're going to talk about. And then at the end of that hour, the second half, we're going to introduce a new topic for an expository essay. And we're going to discuss your introductory paragraph for that and hopefully write that together. And then your homework is going to be to continue to write that essay. But for this week, you've got no homework until next week. I'll be grading your essay, and we'll talk about that next week. So with that, I will see you next week.